going to show you now. This is the wax spinner. It's been running for about 24 hours now, and it's pretty well full of wax, so it's time to clean it out. And basically this is the item that we use to take the cappings, get the last bit of honey off of them before we melt the wax down, and then purify the wax. So it's one more way to squeeze just a little more honey out of the wax cappings. This is a Maxant wax spinner. It does a good job. There's that's what the inside of the drum looks like. And you can see the wax is built up around the edges. Makes a cake that's almost out to the cutters. So about that time I usually am stopping. You can see on the inside wall there is still some wax. It does come up over the top, and it will go down into the bucket below. What I'll do is take after it's cleaned out, I will be able to go in and take just the top layer off and run that back through. Most excuse me, most of this honey is perfectly clean and wax free. Just a little bit of wax on the top. But anyway, what I've found that works the best is I use my hive tool, and I will scrape down the sides to get the wax off. And they usually come off in pretty good sized chunks. This is all still kind of tacky, but most of the honey is is gone. There might just be, there's a little bit left. But we'll actually, there is another process when we melt down the wax. We initially melt it down at low heat, and we'll be able to reclaim a bunch more honey out of this, or whatever is left, right out of these cakes before we do a final hard boil of the wax to actually purify the wax. So that's about it. Just go through, clean out the rest. I will say one thing with this machine is that I've found it appears to add a fair amount of air to the honey. So it does. I don't just pour buckets right off the extractor into this pail, into the spinner. I'll usually just skim off, just like the amount that's on top of here now. I would just take a spoon, scrape this amount off. Certainly, you're going to get some honey with it, but scrape that off, run it through the spinner, and that's the extra honey that I'm drying out. I don't try to just run straight buckets right off the extractor through it. It seems to overload it, and the motor, you can tell it definitely slows it down. It's a great invention. It does a good job. For the money, it doesn't take hardly any time to pay itself back in the extra honey that you recover from your wax cappings. In fact, a lot of times I'll let the cappings dry or drip through in the from the uncapper, and still run it through here, and you'll still end up getting, easily a bucket of honey that you pretty much wouldn't have got if you just let it gravity drain. So definitely a good invention to have, good piece of equipment to have in your honey room. They're not a tremendous amount of money, but they do a pretty good job cleaning up the wax. Okay, I've got the the capping spinner cleaned out, and I get most of the wax out. It really doesn't matter. This thing is constantly being filled right back up. To give you an idea of what that wax amounted to, it ends up being one whole 5-gallon bucket of wax, and that will go into the melter at a low heat to actually recover even more honey, and then finally we'll take the wax and melt it right down and purify the wax itself.